So,
I have a point that I'd like to make. If these protocols that Bonnie Henry has put in work, then how is it that over 90% of our elders have died in their care with their mass isolation and 6-foot distancing and all the protocols are taken to look after these people, and they've killed most of them. That
Don't-
doesn't make any sense to me.
don't you think it's important that if they have a group of people that are scientifically, that they should mention those names?
Well, sure they should, but they're muzzling them, pardon the pun, with mainstream media, and they're keeping that threat and that truth away from the people because they don't want them to know about what is really going on, and a lot of people are just not looking underneath the surface for the real truth. Like for anybody to swallow this bullshit now, there's point is just I don't know how they keep it under. I really don't know how they can't see it. It's so obvious. And the damage that they're doing to the little kids.
What do you expect? What do you expect that the government should do now? You think the government should step down?
Oh my God, I think they should annihilate themselves.
Resign.
Self-implode.
They all should resign.
Yes, every one of them. They are not serving the people that we put them in charge to serve the people, and they're not looking after our best interests whatsoever. Just their own.
Would you say that they're tyrannical?
100%, without a doubt. It's unconstitutional what they're doing. It's unfair. It's against all of the freedom of rights we were born with in this country and most of the world.
Does the government need to tell the common folk in this country how we ought to live, how we ought to do things?
They have no right to do that.
Are we smart enough to do that on our own?
Some of us are.
Yes.
A lot of people are not.
So the question is
being led around by the nose, and a lot of us aren't like that.
no. I mean, we were given freedoms to be able to work for ourselves and to be able to live life and do the best that we could do and feed our families and build up a little nest egg for us to retire on, right?
Yes. Well, I think they're looking to wipe out the free market now, middle class. But
I think so.
I don't think this is going to go very far. I really don't think they're going to. There's too many people awake. There's too many things that are happening. They're not going to be able to shut us off.
You think we're heading for being slaves in our own countries and our own system?
I think that's the direction it's intended to go, but I don't think it is actually going to get that far. No. There's too many rednecks around.
Too many rednecks, yeah. So, introduce yourself.
I'm Mart.
Mark, what do you have to say?
I think from the very beginning, the restrictions were out of comparison or related to the risk of the infection or the COVID crisis. That was a different agenda was in mind. We should have never have shut down the whole world, the economy, or the whole country to accommodate the fight against the virus. Right now, I think, short of getting rid of the government, they should should back right off the government, and everyone should get back to work, and we should do our resources. We should take our resources to that, which are people who are compromised. We should help those who are definitely compromised by flu symptoms and who could die from it. But everyone else should get back to work, and we should go back to normal as it was before March. But I don't believe it's going to happen that way. Freedoms have been taken away. If 60% have been taken away, in time to come, possibly little tidbits of 20% might come back our way. But there's more to it than that, than what's going on. This is not about our health. This is about control. The population is a global movement for tyranny, and it's and in the interim, in the short term. The bad guys, so to speak, they are going to win in the short term, but not in the long term.
What do we do in the short term?
I think we should educate. I think we should take absolutely every bit of information that we got and share it with as many people as we have. That we have on our contact list. We should be sharing the issues. There are many thousands of people worldwide that know that this is not the right way to respond to this crisis. An example is the Barrington Declaration out of the USA, Barrington, USA. Another example is the HART, HART out of the United Kingdom, Canada Alliance for Doctors. Canadian Doctor Alliance, and the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms out of Calgary. They wrote an article called Flying Blind. The Barrington Declaration has now 750,000 signatures of concerned citizens. They have 54,000 people that have signed on to it, medical professionals and doctors, etc. And the Heart is has UK doctors and economists and psychologists saying that we should get back to work immediately and take a more balanced approach or a more targeted approach of looking after those who compromise, and everyone else should get back to work. And I have seen that and have stated that and proclaimed that since the first week of the lockdowns 1 year ago.
Do you think that our government today should reveal their sources of their science and those who are experts, which they have not? They haven't even named those people. Do you think it's time that we expose what they're hiding?
It's absolutely without question we need to know the facts behind it, and that's what John Carpe for the constitutional freedoms is doing on these court cases. He's trying to force the government to give a scientific approach to the reasons for the restrictions that are happening, and that must be done. It must be forced to do that, and I'm not sure how we do that, but that is paramount that we have good reasoning behind the decision. These are not medical or scientific decisions that they're making. It's obvious to everyone that wants to take a look at it without looking at mass media, but actually think it through. It does not make sense at all to mask and distance the healthy people in the community, and there's no reason for it. There's no common sense to it, and we must expose that to be able to move ahead with this.
So if you had anything to say to Bonnie Henry or John Horgan or Adrian Dex, what would you say to them?
Oh, I would definitely have lots to say to them, and I copy them actually on my emails that I do send out. And I would say that they should remove all the restrictions, period, flat out, immediately, and get back to work. Everyone should get back to work. These restrictions, these draconian restrictions, should be removed without hesitation, without any more debate. Just get rid of it, and then look after the compromise and get back to work. We need to get our economy back. The shutdowns, the lockdowns have obviously done much more harm than good. We should not be in this situation.
Anybody else got anything to say? Would you like to? Would you like to introduce yourself and then?
We're good.
You're good. You're good. So the next question here is, I'll ask you the question. What do you have to say to Bonnie Henry and John Horgan and Adrian Dex?
And keep it clean.
Peacefully and gently, I guess.
Get out of government and
Open up the economy.
yes.
And
Shut down the restrictions and the lockdown.
Stop the tyranny.
See you, Jody.
Okay, guys, thank you. And your beautiful wife here. Do you have anything else to say? I guess she doesn't. Jody,
Good to see you.
you got anything else to say to Adrian Dex, Bonnie Henry?
Oh,
Keep it clean.
I have Tourette syndrome. I can't say that out loud. I think she should pull her head out of her ass for one.
Keep it clean.
And I think her soft voice isn't sinking into all of us the way it's intended. So it doesn't work for everybody. I think she's a liar, and I think she's as corrupt as the Prime Minister is. So
Yeah.
So I think it's important that
I think that they all need to step down because they're not looking after the people. They're not serving the people, and that's what their position was intended to do. And they are not protecting the people at all, not in any way, shape, or form.
it's time that our communities wake up, our civil governments wake up,
Totally.
and it's time
And
for
learn their rights. They should be
learn our
teaching
rights.
the rights in school. And they don't want the kids to know this stuff. They
No.
want them to grow up and be compliant, subservient.
Yes.
yeah. I mean, sheeple is sheeple, but we're people that have the ability to stand up and be counted, but also be heard. They're not listening to the people at this
No,
point in
they're
time.
not at all, and they're just bulldozing right over all of it, and having the people fear and shame and keep everybody in that guilt by saying that you're not wearing a mask, you're killing my grandmother. Well, I'm not sick, and I don't believe that healthy people should be muzzled and breathing in their own bodily exhaust. I think that that is deadly. That is not what our bodies were designed and intended to function healthily. So I think that that's completely wrong. And if you are sick, I always stay home when I'm sick. I don't spread it around. And people that are vulnerable and have low immune systems, then they should be protected and they should be taken, good care of.
So what you're saying is that we as a people have the right to discern and be able to manage our own selves. We don't need government to appoint us to what we ought to be doing.
Definitely not.
And those who are listening to the narrative of the government and from the lower magistrates, they really need to listen to the people. And if they want to push constitutional grounds, they need to understand what constitutional grounds were for. They were to protect the people.
Most people are unaware of their Canadian rights that they're born with. They just are unaware of it, totally ignorant of it.
Yeah.
And so people need to open up their minds and their hearts and their eyes and their brains and quit swallowing this garbage. Good luck.
Okay, guys, thanks very much. God bless.